Mr. President, can I begin by once again thanking you for your foresight and for your vision for bringing us all here to Reykjavik this weekend, and for demonstrating once again Iceland's global leadership in complicated but vital issues as one of the world's most truly peaceful and democratic nations. Thank you very much. I think that we've heard much already today that in the issues of climate change, that nowhere are the evidences of that and the consequences more evident than here in the Arctic. But also, as we're hearing from Mr. Gurria and others, that the solutions are to be found here as well. And I was delighted 2 years ago as Energy Minister to come here and sign a memorandum of understanding with my Icelandic counterpart to look at how we could cooperate on energy issues. And that looked at 4 different aspects. It looked at how we could use the tremendous Icelandic expertise in harnessing and developing geothermal opportunities in the United Kingdom. It looked at how we could use British expertise from companies like Shell and BP in exploring for oil and gas around Iceland and more generally in the Arctic. It looked at how we could jointly use our expertise in harnessing geothermal resources in developing countries and East Africa in particular. But perhaps most significantly, it looked as well at how we could see whether it would be possible to build an interconnector between Iceland and Britain and therefore into Europe to bring Iceland's extraordinary geothermal power potential into the wider market. That would be by far the longest and most ambitious interconnector in the world. And it demonstrates a new thinking in energy. Rather than the individual countries being responsible for their own individual energy solutions to their challenges, how would it be possible to find where the world's best resources are and to use modern interconnection technology to bring them to where demand would be? Now, of course, the energy resource here and how it should be used and harnessed is entirely a matter for the people of Iceland and its government as their guardians. And it's for Iceland to have a debate about whether it wants to harness that power and then to export it. But what we were keen to ensure that in the course of that debate, there would be a clear message that Britain would wish to be a partner of choice in taking it forward. Iceland has the most extraordinary resource. It has in terms of the energy trilemma, perhaps the best example of secure, low-carbon, affordable energy in the world. It was very striking hearing about Alaska having the most expensive electricity in the United States, whereas Iceland has the cheapest electricity in the whole of Europe. But it is perhaps at the moment only harnessing about 1/3 or less of its potential. And if it decided to use more of that for export, then we believe that this could bring significant benefits. Landsvirkjun, as the country's electricity company, has said that this could be equivalent to, in time, reducing income tax by half or creating an energy fund along the lines of the pension fund in Norway, the largest single investor in the European stock market. The European Union, through its network of energy grid operators, has said in the last few weeks that it could be worth perhaps 72 billion Icelandic kroner a year to the economy here, making it perhaps the most profitable interconnector anywhere in Europe. But of course, this is not a new idea. The National Grid have a letter going back to the 1960s when somebody said, why don't we build a wire from Iceland to Britain? And it wasn't possible in those days. But what has changed to make it possible is the development of high voltage DC cabling, which minimizes losses to just a very few percent. It's been a regulatory approach in Britain and elsewhere now, which will look at how it provides a form of support, a long-term guarantee for low-carbon electricity, and which will indeed be extended to electricity which is generated outside our boundaries. And a real commitment across the European Union and in Britain and elsewhere to try and put in place the regulatory changes so that partner countries outside the EU can contribute towards our energy mix and our energy security. And that means that there are investors now who are keen to move into this space and to take it forward. There is tremendous enthusiasm in Europe as it looks towards a more interconnected future, as a way of enhancing our collective energy security, and nowhere could that be perhaps more evident than here. This would be the world's biggest project of its kind, 3 times as long as the longest interconnector currently existing. But it is perhaps a start of something even greater. It would offer the potential to extend that in time to Greenland, potentially, if the people of Greenland were keen to do so, to bring their power into the European market. It would then be possible to link that across into Canada. What is behind this is a transformative thought process about how we need to change the way in which we do energy, and where we look at where those resources are strongest and see how we can bring them to other markets. And then it also opens up other opportunities as well, if we can develop those skills in tandem. Ethiopia, for many people of my generation, the word which we most associate with Ethiopia is still famine. Ethiopia, one of the 10 fastest growing countries in the world last year, because it has massive geothermal and hydroelectricity opportunities, Reykjavik Energy helping them to harness those. Well, through interconnection, it can now export that power to its neighbors and potentially even to places like Saudi Arabia, really taking coals to Newcastle or sand to the desert, as we would say. So in energy, we talk of the trilemma. We talk of how do we deal with those issues of energy security, of affordability, of low carbon. This is a rare project which brings all of those together. It enables us to have base load and potentially a source of backup to compensate for the variability of most other forms of renewables. I think in Iceland there is the most extraordinary gift, not just in terms of the natural resources which are here, but of the ingenuity of its people to see how they can best make advantage of those to their own long-term benefits. And if it is the choice of the people of this great country to take it forward in that way, then this could truly be one of the great engineering projects of the 21st century. Thank you very much.